Hey, thank you for clicking on this video, I really appreciate it. We arrive at a baseball batting cage. Seo-yeon is sitting on her phone and tells Jin-won that she is not sure if they should have tried to recruit Kim Dong-yeon. There are many strong guys, so why recruit him? She asks if it is because he is Han-jun's friend or because he looks pitiful. She then mentions that this is not a charity organization and Jin-woo chuckles. A baseball flies toward Jin-woo. He hits it and says that the first word he thinks of when he thinks of Kim Dong-yeon is the word tenacity. Despite having a small build, he fought Nexus with just his solid tenacity. A ball flies toward Jin-woo again, and he says that the thing about solid things. Meanwhile, his bat breaks when hitting the ball. They break because they can't bend to his will. Seo-yeon then asks why would they recruit someone who is already injured. Jin-woo looks at her and tells her that he believes in this, even though someone who has been broken once might not be as unbending. The ball flies toward Jin-woo, and he misses because his bat is broken. They will be sharper than they ever were. The ball that Jin-woo missed is broken and destroyed. Seo-yeon looks up with a mildly curious look on her face and tells Jin-woo sarcastically that he is quite the scholar. Back at Dongyeon High School, Han-jun is walking through the halls. Students mean to mug Han-jun as he walks by. He looks back and can feel them watching and sizing him up. He lowers his head and just keeps walking. He looks up and sees Kim Dong-yeon walking to class. When he looks closer, he can see that he was roughed up. Han-jun looks irritated by that. He then sees someone kick him and call him a bastard. Dong-yeon falls to the ground while dropping his food. The person tells him that he came late on purpose. He tells him that it took him 5 minutes more than the time he had bet on. He tells him it's his fault that he lost the bet and asks what he is going to do about it. He slaps him and again asks what he is going to do about it. The guys behind him laugh and tell the guy that he is already dumb, so if he hits him, he will only become dumber. One guy also mentions that the moment he runs his legs become useless, so how could he have made it to the convenience store in 5 minutes? The guy gets ready to hit him when he says that the guy needs to be more scared of him than losing his legs. He hits him in the face and calls him a fucker. While he is getting hit, Han-jun watches. Han-jun seems incredibly frustrated. Back at the office, Seo-yeon tells Jin-woo that she understands why he is trying to recruit Dong-yeon, but believes that Han-jun is not good with that kind of work. She tells him that it would be better to just use money while smiling. Jin-woo thinks about it and says that it would be easy if Dong-yeon could have been moved by money. He asks if she knows the reason why Dong-yeon fought Nexus back then. The reason was that Park Han-jun fought. That's it. People think that might be weird to fight and even lose their leg for someone else. But the Kim Dong-yeon, Jin-woo researched is someone that fights alongside his friends. He treats his friend getting hit as if he were to get hit. That is the kind of person he is. Back at the school, Kim Dong-yeon is lighting up a cigarette. He tries to light it up, but it does not work, and he gets angry and throws it away while saying fuck. It falls at the feet of Han-jun. Dong-yeon notices someone and Han-jun looks at him, and Dong-yeon looks back uninterested. Han-jun starts by saying that it is nice to meet him. Dong-yeon says that he heard that he came to destroy the school. He asks Han-jun if he thinks that is possible. He stands up and says that Nexus became stronger, and that their power is not something anyone can do about anymore. Dong-yeon looks at him with a lifeless gaze and says that they have lost, and that's the end. Han-jun says no. He looks up confidently and tells him that they will win this round. Dong-yeon starts walking, and when he passes Han-jun, he tells him that he would not have fought if he thought he would lose. He tells him that thanks to that he became a cripple. While he walks away, Han-jun balls his fist in frustration. Han-jun then tells him to just wait and see. While Dong-yeon walks into the school, someone washed him. Min Kyung-gul looks down and says that he was wondering what Han-jun was going to do. He is disappointed he chose to team up with a limp. He walks away and thinks they are morons. While he walks away, he tells his crew to prepare to beat up Park Han-jun. In the evening at the hospital, Dong-yeon is talking to a doctor. He tells him that it is good that he is working on his physio, but that would not be enough. He needs to have the surgery, and the longer he waits, the less likely the chance is for recovery. He tells him to please go to a bigger hospital. Even though he is in a difficult situation, he needs to be able to use his legs. Dong-yeon looks down frustrated and then tells the doctor yes. It is raining outside, and Dong-yeon just left the hospital. When someone walks up and greets him, he turns to see who it was, and Kyung-gul asks what the doctor said. He laughs and mockingly asks if he had gotten better. Dong-yeon asks him what he is doing here. He laughs and tells him that he is a bit sad. He He tells him it is not much, but he came to check the ex-number 1's leg. He tells him he had a nice chat with Park Han-jun and was wondering if he got better. He tells him that if it was, he would have smashed it again. Dong-yeon then tells why he came alone then. It would have been impossible for him to do it alone if he had gotten better. Kyung-gul looks at him and then kicks him in the knee. He falls down on the ground and Kyung-gul laughs at him. He calls him a son of a bitch, and if he still thinks he is his underling. He tells him that he should not have false hope and that he remembered that Han-jun bowed before him. He tells Dong-yeon that he will end up the same. He smiles and says that it was because of his loyalty that he ended up a cripple. Dong-yeon tells him that it was because he betrayed them by entering Nexus. He smiles and says that he is talking as if he is the real bastard. Dong-yeon asks, isn't he? He chuckles and tells him he can think as he likes. He sarcastically tells him to keep being the loyal guy to his friend. Editor not, fuck this guy. He tells him that he'll rather be a jerk than a cripple. He walks away and says that he doesn't know if he can keep being loyal this time. Dong-yeon looks down in frustration and balls his fist. Back at school, Han-jun is sitting and watching out of the window. Suddenly, the intercom plays and someone is heard speaking through it. Kyung-gul introduces himself and tells everyone that Han-jun, the person who fought Nexus 2 years ago, transferred to this school and said he was going to destroy them. He laughs and calls him a stupid asshole. He tells him that he is going to attack us after they crushed his friend. He says that he knows he is strong because he has never seen him lose in a fight. He tells him that he never fought with him before, but he is not dumb. Why would he fight him alone? While he is talking, many people are heading toward Han-jun's class. He then says from now on, the hunt for Park Han-jun starts. Out of nowhere, 2 guys fly out of the window. People are confused as to what happened when 2 other guys also fly out of the window. They land on the floor with the glass of the door flying everywhere. Someone stomps on one of their necks. As the smoke settles, Han-jun stands on him with unshakable confidence. Editor note: this guy is the fucking Terminator. Someone asks what the people from Class 7 are doing, and when he looks he sees that they are all defeated. He is shocked that they got beaten in such a short time. Han-jun takes a deep breath. He then says, Dongyan High School, let's see who's the prey here. Everyone runs toward Han-jun and yells, kill him. Han-jun punches someone in the face. He then turns around and does the same to the same. Dong-yeon is the only one who is still sitting in his class. Han-jun is still destroying the other students, while Dong-yeon is looking really frustrated. It's pouring back at Dongyan High School. Inside, Han-jun is beating everyone who is attacking him. He punches someone in the face and afterward turns around to kick someone in the stomach. The students call him a monster and notice that he is not just being reckless. They understand fully that Han-jun is intending to defeat them all. They yell to not get scared and that it will be over once they grab him. Han-jun proceeds to give someone an elbow in the face, and the group manages to grab him. They shout that they got him and start beating him up. They hold him and Han-jun seems to endure it. He then kicks someone on their foot. He screams out of pain and lets go of Han-jun, which he uses to knee him in the face. Now that his leg is free, he kicks someone in the stomach. He handles the other 3 people who hold him in one sweep. He then stomps someone in the face who swears when he does. Another guy gets punched in the face. People around him are getting mad that he is beating everyone up. Han-jun sets his foot down and turns his body to punch a few people in the face. 4 people simultaneously get knocked out by Han-jun. He then goes on a rampage and runs past a group while knocking out everyone who dares to face him. The last person gets hit in the face so hard that he falls to the ground. Han-jun's hands are bleeding, but not with his blood. He walks away, leaving a hallway of bodies behind him. Editor note: holy shit. He breathes heavily and looks beastly. Another group of people is waiting for him at the end of the hall. They ask him if he is tired already, and he laughs, saying that this is not good. They haven't even started yet. Han-jun is breathing heavily and looks at them. Meanwhile, a group runs past Dong-yeon's class and yells that Park Han-jun is almost out of strength. Dong-yeon thinks that he is a fool because this was supposed to be over already. He asks himself why he is doing this again. Someone walks in and says that Han-jun would be really disappointed. They ask if it is okay for him to sit there like nothing is happening when his friend is fighting. Soo-in walks up to him and asks if he is Kim Dong-yeon. He asks who she is. She responded by saying that she is a colleague of Park Han-jun. He looks up surprised and then back down. He tells her that he can't fight. Soo-in tells him that she is not here to ask him to fight. She just wants to know more about Park Han-jun. From what she knows, he is fighting the whole Dongyan High School. She tells him that they told him to run away when something like this happened. Apparently, Han-jun insisted on fighting. She asks Dong-yeon if he knows why. He said he wanted to prove that this round they could win. He looks down frustrated and thinks back to when Han-jun told him the same thing. He looks in front of him and also thinks about how Kyung-gul told him that he got into this mess because of his loyalty and that he doesn't know that loyalty will last this time. Dong-yeon grabs his knee and is stumbling over his words. So-in asks him if he is sure he won't regret it. He looks back and thinks about it and clenches his teeth. Han-jun is in the meantime still beating students up and is kicking someone from the stairs. He looks down with sweat dripping down his face. The whole hallway is covered with blood and bodies while Han-jun is walking out. Someone starts clapping and Han-jun looks up with his eyes not focused anymore. Kyung-gul walks down and tells him that that was expected of him. He then asks how many did he take down and then tells him that it's over now. Numbers 5 and 7 of Dongyeon High School are standing behind him. He is also joined by numbers 4 and 3, with number 2 being his right-hand man. Editor note, I'm sorry, I didn't bother saying their name as their parents probably already have to do that when making their gravestones. Kyung-gul sits at the top of the stairs and tells Han-jun that each of them will be a monster. Han-jun stands at the bottom of the stairs and looks up and gets into a fighting position. Kyung-gul looks at him and laughs. He calls him a fucking moron while his lackeys run down the stairs. They all jump toward Han-jun and he gets ready to punch, when suddenly a mop flies in the face of one of the attackers. Han-jun looks to see who threw it. Kyung-gul also turns around to see. They both see Dong-yeon standing at the end of the hall. He then tells Han-jun that he is fucking annoying. He shouldn't do cool stuff by himself. In the classroom, we can see a briefcase full of money with a picture of him and Han-jun. They both look happy in the picture. Someone says that Dong-yeon is trying to fight us again. Kyung-gul tells them that this is better actually. They will take care of both him and Han-jun. A few rush toward Dong-yeon. He breaks off the mop into two and grabs them with both his hand. He then gets into a fighting position. Nobody runs up to him and tells him he is a weakling trying to act tough. Dong-yeon blocks his punch with his stick and proceeds to hit him over the head with the stick. His right leg is shaking and someone jumps toward him with the intention to grab him. He knees him in the stomach, which causes Dong-yeon a lot of pain. He then beats 3 of them with the stick simultaneously. Han-jun gets his bloody first ready and also punches 3 people simultaneously. They are both on one end of the hall and are fighting their way to each other. Someone asks how the fuck this is possible. Editor note, I would feel the same way, bro. He says that one of them is tired and the other a cripple. He then asks how they are so strong. They proceed to stand back to back and both knock someone out. They touch backs and stop for a moment. Dong-yeon tells Han-jun he's sorry. He continues by saying he blamed him a lot for his current life. He thinks back to when he told Han-jun that he would not have fought if he thought he was going to lose, and thanks to that I am a cripple. He tells him that he knows it wasn't because of him. He just wanted someone to blame. Han-jun looks back and cracks a genuine smile. Kyung-gul calls it a load of crap while he is attacking the two. He tells them if they want to die he will grant them their wish. Dong-yeon then tells Park Han-jun that Kyung-gul this is. They both evade his attack. He looks back and sees them both running for the door. Kyung-gul follows them and calls them morons for thinking they could run away. Han-jun then grabs him by the collar and proceeds to throw him to the other side of the door. He swears at him and then looks up to see Dong-yeon close the door. Han-jun stands across from the group and tells Dong-yeon that he has to wait for a little bit because it will end soon. Kyung-gul tells Dong-yeon that he is doing something stupid. Dong-yeon laughs and then asks stupid. He looks at him and tells him that he who doesn't have friends might think it's stupid. He calls him a pitiful bastard while Kyung-gul looks at him angrily. He shouts who is pitiful and gets ready to punch. His punch gets blocked by the stick that Dong-yeon carried. His hand is injured and Kyung-gul looks confused. He then hits him with the stick in the stomach. He manages to push himself off the ground and grabs Dong-yeon by the waist. He lifts him up by holding him by his neck. Dong-yeon says shit and gets thrown against a glass window. Kyung-gul tries to hit him but Dong-yeon manages to dodge. Kyung-gul laughs and asks what he is trying to do. He apparently left his sticks and he tells him that they have to fight barehanded. Dong-yeon gets ready and takes off his shirt. He uses his blouse to make a weapon and tells him says who. Kyung-gul starts laughing and tells him he is hilarious for choosing that as a weapon. Dong-yeon then pulls the shirt over his face and tightens it. He pulls him over his shoulder and launches him into the wall. He then hits him in the face repeatedly while yelling "die." Kyung-gul then grabs him by the leg, which catches Dong-yun's attention. Dong-yun then gets put to the ground. He then puts his leg into a lock and tells him they are both not who they were in the past. He then slams his fist into Dong-yun's leg. Dong-yun yells because of the excruciating pain. Kyung-gul tries to stand up and looks at a hurt Dong-yun, who is holding his leg. He looks at him and says that today will cost him a lot. When he tries to walk away, he sees Dong-yun slowly getting up. He answers that it is bullshit. He then asks Kyung-gul where he is going and calls him a gorilla. He looks back mad and asks if he got back up after that. Dong-yun tells him that it is not over yet before getting into a fighting position. Kyung-gul hits him in the face and tells him it is over. He then asks if he is even capable of doing anything while hitting him again. Dong-yun stands tall and says it is not over. Kyung-gul hits him in the face again and sends him flying back. Dong-yun falls down to the ground. His face is bleeding and he groans. Kyung-gul watches him laying on the ground and calls him a bastard. He walks off when Dong-yun slowly gets up. He then again asks where he thinks he is going. Kyung-gul turns his head and Dong-yun says it's not over while standing up. He grabs a handful of glass and tells him again that it isn't over. Kyung-gul looks back furiously. He rushes toward Dong-yun and tells him to just die already. Dong-yun raises his glass-filled hand and scratches Kyung-gul across his face, leaving a mark. Kyung-gul looks surprised as he realizes that he got cut. He looks at Dong-yun's hand and sees the glass that is sticking to his hand. Dong-yun slaps him across his face again, leaving another mark. Kyung-gul falls back and calls Dong-yun a bastard. He then tries to hit him again, but Dong-yun ducks. He grabs him by the collar and tells him what would he know and that he can't lose. He says that if he loses now, he will be too ashamed to face Park Han-jun. Dong-yun headbutts him and Kyung-gul falls down to the ground while swearing. He realizes that he is open now and Dong-yun punches him in the face. He does it again and Kyung-gul realizes that this is not good. Dong-yun goes for another punch while thinking about how he was humiliated by his group. He thinks about the times he was beaten and treated horribly. He gets angry and his fist full of glass so hard hits Kyung-gul so hard that he spits out blood. Kyung-gul flies back and then falls down to the ground, seemingly unconscious. Dong-yun stands over him while breathing heavily. His right leg shakes from the pain and Dong-yun notices it. He walks to the other side of the door and when he looks, he sees Han-jun standing in the middle of the room with bodies laying around him. Dong-yun tells Han-jun that he is crazy because he actually won when he suddenly falls. Han-jun catches him and puts his arm around his shoulder. Han-jun then smiles at Dong-yun, who tells him to stop smiling even though he's smiling himself. They then slowly walk away together past the bodies that they left behind. Outside, someone says that they did good work and asks what the fuck this is. Manager Lee calls Kyung-gul an incompetent fucker and confirms that Park Han-jun was the one who made this mess. He says that he only had to catch one person and they turned the whole school into a mess. He laughs and says damn it, and then tells his associates to catch Park Han-jun and to only break 3 bones. Someone says that he doesn't have to be like that. Manager Lee looks up and sees the Jinwoo's lawyer. He tells them that they should let the kids deal with each other. The adults can handle things separately. They look at each other nonchalantly. They head towards a classroom to discuss. Manager Lee remarks that Park Han-jun must have a lot of money seeing as KR law firm is here. But even so, he can't pull this off just because he has money. The lawyer throws down a briefcase and tells him not to get too hasty. The lawyer assures him that he will not be dissatisfied. Manager Lee cracks a smile. Manager Lee laughs and tells them that they have a thing or two about negotiating. He tells them that the only color he takes is yellow, which is 50,000 Korean won. When the lackey opens the briefcase, he looks confused and asks what this is. The briefcase is full of files about Dongyan High School. There is also a USB stick, CDs, and even a hard drive in the case. Manager Lee says that it is yellow, but the lawyer cuts him off and tells him that is tomorrow's news. It shows that the school allowed gangs to exist and that they scouted the students for their organization. Everything from how they have been stealing money from the school to how they have been illegally investing in land ownership, even his tax evasion. He looks at Lee and asks if he missed anything. He sighs and says fuck. He then tells the lawyer if it came across to him that he could die for doing this. while he says that he puts knives on all their necks. He asks him if he has 9 lives or something while putting the knife closer to his face. He calmly asks if it would really end even if he killed him. He tells him if their organization and his law firm were to clash, who did he think would win. He tells him that a murder charge would be quite inconvenient for him. Manager Lee looks irritated and then signs to his man to lower their weapons. They do as he says. He then clenches his jaw and asks him what it is he wants. The lawyer smiles and says nothing much and just hand over the school. He looks at him and says, "Ha." At the hospital, Han-jun is sitting in the waiting room when Soo-yeon talks to him. She asks him if he really is a human or a robot. How can he look fine after fighting an entire school? Editor note: finally, someone is also shocked by this. He is quiet for a second and says that he is not fine. Then suddenly the doctor gets out of the room. Han-jun and Soo-yeon both look at him for news about Dong-yeon. The doctor says that it is amazing that he endured the pain for this long. He tells him that he wasn't in a good condition when he came to the hospital, so they will need to watch him for a bit longer. But the surgery was a success, and the doctor expects a high chance of recovery. Soo-yeon says that that is a relief, but Han-jun barely listens anymore. He looks down and smiles. Back at an international hotel, Jinwoo is sitting on his phone. Someone else is thanking someone for taking part in the successful youth interview. She says that it will help many students, and he says that he hopes so. Jinwoo looks at his phone and is reading the article that came out about Dongyeon High School. Apparently, students have been sent to the juvenile detention center. Jinwoo smiles when reading this. The woman thanks him for his time and he bows and tells her of course. Jinwoo walks up to him and the guy says that he knew something was off. He says that his management never changed his schedule for an interview with a minor magazine before. His Nexus ring is shining. Kim Chien-soo asks if today's interview was set up by him. He goes on and says that he never thought that someone like President Oh would ever grace him with his presence, and adds that it's an honor. Jinwoo smiles at the word that he used, honor. He sits down and asks why talked in that tone, and if he forgot who he is. Chien-soo answers of course he didn't and says that things are different from back then. He mentions that the past is the past, and that they have moved on. He tells him that he is simply showing respect to someone he looks up to. Jinwoo says that he is good at reading the mood, but this is a bummer. And doesn't he know that he is the fixative type? So he is the one who took Dongyeon High School. Chien-soo is quiet for a second, and then tells him that he has no idea what he is saying. Editor note: finally, a smart villain. He tells Jinwoo that he is leaving. He extends his hand and tells him it was a pleasure. Jinwoo looks at his hand with disgust. Chien-soo smiles and bows when he doesn't accept. He then calmly walks away when Jinwoo calls his name. Jinwoo looks furious and tells him that the next time they meet, he won't be able to maintain his straight face. He smiles and nods before walking away looking pissed off. Jinwoo sighs and looks up. He thinks to himself that he was worried since it's been 2 years, that he wouldn't feel angry or that he would have felt scared when he saw him. He chuckles and says that he was worried for nothing, as seeing his face was enough to piss him off. Chien-soo is sitting in the back of the car and the driver asks what he will do now. Will he let Han-jun and Jinwoo just be? Chien-soo says of course not. If they shoot a flare gun, they should react to it. He then tells him to be ready because this fight will probably be the largest fight in the history of South Korea. Hey guys, if you want another part, please let me know in the comments. I can only continue this series if I get enough views, so please like, comment, and share. Press the bell to make sure you don't miss a part. Okay, that's it. See you guys later.